Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is now in session. The court is in session with our review docket. First case that we're going to call is cause number M333268. Case to style the state of Texas versus Dustin L. Moffitt. Mr. Moffitt, would you please come forward? Mr. Moffitt, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Moffitt, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Moffitt? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Moffitt, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Brevin Jackson. Attorney Jackson is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Jackson, you could turn your mic off and mute. How are you doing, Mr. Jackson?
I'm doing well, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Mr. Jackson, do you waive a record in Mr. Moffitt's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the state is represented in this case by Attorney Colby Hoffpire. Attorney Hoffpire, how are you doing?
Good, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, I have before me a joint request for a plea or sentencing by video conference under Texas Code of Criminal Procedure Article 27.18. Now, Mr. Moffitt, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir, it is.
And Mr. Jackson, do you recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is this your signature on the line that is titled defendant's attorney?
Yes, Judge.
And Mr. Hoffpire, is this your signature on the line that is titled attorney for state?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Moffitt, prior to signing this document, did your attorney go over this document with you? And did you understand everything that he went over?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge? And state, Mr. Hoffpire, prior to signing this document, did you read the document?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you understand what you read?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Jackson, prior to signing this document, did you read the document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you understand what you read?
Yes.
And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Judge.
So based upon all the parties' response, the court is going to approve this request. Okay, now, Mr. Moffitt, I have before me a document that is titled information. In this information, it alleges that on or about August 5th of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of falsification of drug tests. Mr. Moffitt, do you understand what you've been charged with? And to this charge, Mr. Moffitt, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest? Now, Mr. Moffitt, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily? And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Moffitt, I'm gonna show you a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
On page 2 of the same document, there's a signature, excuse me, a set of initials on a line next to a box that's checked nola contendere. Are these your initials?
Yes, Your Honor.
On page 3 of this same document, there is a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the next document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, it is.
There are two boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
The second box that's checked states that you will be waiving your right to an appeal, which means you'll be giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? The next document that I have is on paper. This document is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Moffitt, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I just showed you, did you read the documents? And did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you understand everything that your attorney went over?
Yes, Your
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Honor. Yes, Your
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and State's Exhibit number 2, the probable cause affidavit. State, would you like to offer States 1 and 2?
What we do so at this time, Your Honor?
Any objections, Mr. Jackson?
No, Your Honor.
No objections, State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Jackson, you have advised and counseled Mr. Moffitt. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Moffitt, your attorney, Mr. Jackson, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Moffitt, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of waivers was freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what's that agreement?
In exchange for plea of no contest or guilty, Your Honor, we agreed to offer 30 days in jail and court costs. Mr. Moffitt has credit for 30 days in jail. We'd also asked to tax and return on the court costs in this case.
Okay, Mr. Moffitt, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail because you've already served 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you have already served. The court cost in this case is $327, but you will not have to pay the $327 court cost because the time that you've spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Moffitt, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moffitt, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Moffitt, if you do not have anything else holding you in jail today, you should be getting out today. Okay, Mr. Moffitt, please follow the bailiff and you have a blessed, just hold on a minute, Mr. Moffitt. You go over here to the clerk. She needs to get your prints. Okay. And Mr. Jackson, we're gonna hold on. We're gonna call those other cases after I do these 2 cases.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session and cause number M311900. And the case is styled the state of Texas versus Nicholas James Randall. Mr. Randall Is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Randall, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Randall, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Do you?
Mr. Randall, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Randall? I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Mr. Randall, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Jared Gilthorpe. Attorney Gilthorpe, how are you doing?
Doing well, Judge.
Mr. Gilthorpe, do you waive a record in Mr. Randall's case?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Randall, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about May 4th of 2016, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of assault, family violence. Mr. Randall, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, I do.
And to this charge, Mr. Randall, how do you plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest? Guilty? Now you're pleading guilty.
Yes,
And are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Your Honor.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Randall, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Mr. Randall, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
On page 2 of the same document, there are a set of initials that are on a line next to a box that says check guilty. Mr. Randall, did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, yes, Your
On the next page of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature? On the next document, this document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document? At the bottom of this document, there is a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Honor. It is, Your Honor.
And at the top of this document, there are two boxes that's checked. The first box says check states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
The second box that check states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? Now, I also have a document here on paper that's titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? Now, Mr. Randall, before you signed and initialed all of these documents, did your attorney, Mr. Gilthorpe, go over these documents with you? And did you read and understand everything in these documents? And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Randall, are you a citizen of the United States? State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1 into evidence?
We'll do so at this time, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No objection, Judge.
No objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Gilthorpe, you've advised and counseled Mr. Randall. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Randall, your attorney, Mr. Gilthorpe, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation? Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Mr. Randall, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for plea of guilty, the state agreed to recommend 30 days in jail and court cost. And Mr. Randall has credit for 30 days in jail. So it's gonna be a time served, and we ask that his court costs be taxed at the time.
Okay. Mr. Gilthorpe, is that the agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Randall, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you would not be required to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case, because you've already served 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you have already served. The court cost in this case is $387, but you will not be required to pay the court cost of $387 because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. Mr. Randall, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Randall, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Randall, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney and follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day. And Mr. Gilthorpe, you'll be free to go as well, and you have a blessed day. And I think, Mr. Randall, if this is the only thing that's holding you in jail, you should be getting out today.
Thank you.
All right, right.
Is discovery stuff. Mr. Johnson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, she said.
Next, court is back in session. Next case is clause number M 332468. Case is styled the state of Texas versus Jacob Warren Johnson. Mr. Johnson, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Johnson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Johnson?
Good.
That's good. Now, Mr. Johnson, you're here representing by your attorney, Attorney John Macy. Attorney Macy, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Your Honor. Thanks for asking.
Mr. Macy, do you waive a record in Mr. Johnson's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson? Oh. Have them to come back.
Yes.
I need to get out.
But
Yeah, I need to defend it. Yeah, hold on a minute, Mr. Mason, I'm gonna have to, something I forgot to do. Yeah, I need to give him his warning. Yeah, y'all can just stand to the side. We'll call you back up. Yeah, let me do this. What you've been handed is titled Model Written Ammunition on Ineligibility to Possess a Firearm Ammunition. So in accordance with the Texas Administrative Code, Section 176.1, the court hereby admonishes you of the following. Number one, you are by entry or order or judgment ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm ammunition. Number two, beginning now, if you possess a firearm ammunition, it could lead to charges against you. If you have questions about how long you will be ineligible to possess a firearm ammunition, you should consult an attorney. Number three, under Texas Penal Code, Section 46.013A, firearm being any device designed, made, or adapted to expel a projectile through a barrel by using the energy generated by an explosion or burning substance, or any device readily convertible to that use. B, firearm does not include a firearm that may have as an integral part a folding knife blade or other characteristics of weapons made illegal by Penal Code Chapter 46, and that is one, an antique curio firearm manufactured before 1899, or two, a replica of an antique or curio firearm manufactured before 1899, but only if the replica does not use rimfire or centerfire ammunition. The statutes listed below are a starting point for ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. For more information about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or for more information on how long your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition lasts, the court recommends you contact an attorney. Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 17.292, Magistrate's Orders for Emergency Protection. Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 42.0131, Notice for persons convicted of misdemeanors involving family violence. Penal Code, Section 46.02, unlawful carrying weapons. Penal Code, Section 46.04, unlawful possession of firearm. Penal Code, Section 25.07, violation of certain court orders or conditions of bond in a family violence, child abuse or neglect, sexual assault or abuse, indecent assault, stalking, or trafficking case. Family Code, Section 85.026, warning on protective orders. Now, the written ammunition that was passed out to you is for you to keep, for your records. You're excused and you have a blessed day. The court will recall clause number 332-468, case of style of state of Texas versus Jacob Warren Johnson. And Mr. Johnson was previously sworn in. And Mr. Johnson, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about February 23rd of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of failure to identify a fugitive from justice. Mr. Johnson, do you understand what you have been charged with? And to this charge, Mr. Johnson, How do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily,
Yes.
and are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Johnson, I have a document here that was copied off of the tablet. And do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this document, there's a set of initials, JJ, that are on a line next to a box that's checked nolo contendere, which means no contest. Mr. Johnson, will you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, Mr. Johnson, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Mr. Johnson, is this your signature?
Yes.
The next document, Mr. Johnson, is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that's checked up here. On the top of this document, the first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Have another document that's titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney, Mr. Macy, go over these documents with you?
Yes.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes.
to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Johnson, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and State's Exhibit number 2, the probable cause affidavit. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibits 1 and 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr. Macy?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Oops. Mr. Could you mark that, exhibit sticker, State's. Mr. Mason, you've advised that counsel, Mr. Johnson, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, your attorney, Mr. Macy, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for a plea of of guilty or no contest, the state agrees to recommend 180 days in jail with credit for time served of 180 days and court costs, and we ask the court costs be taxed and retired.
Mr. Johnson, the state is offering that you serve 180 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not be required to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail because you've already served 180 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you have already served. The court cost in this case is $327, but you will not be required to pay the court cost of $327 in this case because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Johnson, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Johnson, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney and follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her direction, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day. And if you do not have anything else holding you in jail today, you should be getting out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Mr. Macy, I'm gonna need to see you in a, I got the case that was just a.